Hey up everybody, welcome back to the I'll Do Cycling YouTube channel, where today we're going to be taking a look at the Super 8 Classic, another category 3 race, and one which could have a couple of different scenarios as to how the race is going to pan out. Looking at the star list, it's obviously got quite a lot of sprinters in here, but there's also quite a few attackers, so it's definitely quite split, and certainly how you create your team is going to be based upon how you think the race is going to go. Personally, I think that given the high caliber of sprinters we got here, like Phillips and DeLee and Binney, who are all on a relatively similar level, I could see them all making it into a move on those kind of that circuit, that hilly circuit, with say 50 kilometers to go and 30ish kilometers to go. But maybe they just look at each other and it ends up coming back together. Maybe somebody flies solo off of the front of that. It's quite hard to predict. But anyway, Jasper Philipsen, 26 credits. Obviously, there's a race on today. It's either Kampioenschap van Vlaanderen, which he's taking part in. In fact, a couple of these riders are taking part in there, so it might be worthwhile waiting for that result to fully make your team. But Philipsen is probably the fastest sprinter in this race. I think we could all agree on that. And he climbs really well. His team isn't the strongest, it's worthwhile mentioning, so I don't think many of them will be making it into a breakaway style move with 50ish kilometers to go. Maybe only Gianni Vermeersch, but I think Philipsen, if it all comes back together for a sprint, could certainly be winning it. DeLee, bit of a foot in both camps, where he could be an attacker, but he could also be in there for a sprint. I do find that DeLee, arguably, the fact that he can do a bit of both can sometimes be to his detriment, because sometimes he really goes all in on being an attacker, but it all comes back together and he's got nothing left, and then he finishes 20-something for whatever. He got unlucky at the Grand Prix de Wallonie. I think he got stuck behind that crash of Trentin, I think. Or he might have got held up in it, or actually might have gone down himself. I can't remember. But DeLee, in theory, is the safest choice because he can do a bit of everything. Alaphilippe, he's a good choice now because Lamperty got taken out when once they announced their squad fully. I think Alaphilippe, he's again, good choice. Why not? He'll be a very attacking option. If an attacking group is to make it to the finish, Alaphilippe will be in there. So if you're thinking more towards a breakaway style group making it to the finish, then Alaphilippe would be a really good choice for that. Caleb Ewan, I don't think will be a good choice. He just, again, really hasn't shown the form this year to be worthwhile picking, especially when you could pick Binyam Girmay for the same price. And I think that going with Binney is really safe. He's got a fantastic run of form recently. Lampard, I think he'll just be working for Alaphilippe or something. It's just quite a lot to be investing into somebody who I'm really not sure about. Arambarou second at the Grand Prix de Wallonie. He's also racing today in that race which Philipsen's doing. So I'll maybe wait to see what the result is of that. I think that Arambarou, not the fastest sprinter, so he's definitely going to need a group to get away to be competitive. But in theory, he's a bit like DeLee, where he could do a bit of both. And I think that, Arambarou's a nice, safe choice. But maybe he's not going to be the highest scoring person. I think in either scenario, he might get beaten. But he should be finishing inside the top 10, I think. Then you got the two kind of more pure sprinters in Christophe and Meeus, who are going to be in your team if you think it's going to come back together for a sprint. I think it could certainly go that way if all the big favourites are up towards the front with no domestiques and nobody really takes the incentive to keep working together, because usually sprinters don't work together that well. You could see Christophe and Meeus coming back. Obviously Meeus has won this race in the past as well, so it's very possible that it can be a sprint. Trentin, obviously, a bit unlucky at the Grand Prix de Wallonie. He looked in really good position. He was on the wheel of Arambarou, but then got knocked off it, funnily enough, by Wellens. I think Trentin would have been fighting for a podium place in the Grand Prix de Wallonie, so he's obviously in good form. And also, he's like Arambarou and DeLee, where he could make it into an attacking move, but also sprint at the end. So Trentin's nice and safe. Wellens, I'm not really too sure about, because UE say that he's the leader, but they've also got... He was working, it looked like, for Rui Oliveira or Morgado, I think, in Grand Prix de Wallonie, so I'm not sure if they might use him as an attacker, and then they've got the other guys as the sprinters. So Wellens is all in on the attacking front, but I'd probably go with Trentin, just because I know that Trenton would probably beat Vellens in a sprint if it came down to an attacking group. The 18 credit riders I don't really like at all. 16s, I like Schoins if you think that if an attacking group gets off the front. If anybody's going to counter-attack that and go solo or, do a 2-up or a 3-up with somebody, it'll be Schoins for sure. Turnison you might go with if perhaps, Intermarché send him up the road to allow Binny to just sit in behind. So I think Turnison, it's a little bit of a rogue one, I must admit, but maybe he could be in that 2-up with Schoins possibly. But at the end of the day, these 16 credit riders are all probably domestiques for somebody else. Maybe Edward Turns gets his opportunity to sprint behind as well if Schoins is up the road. Vermeersch, I think, will be working for Philipsen, Van Poppel for Vermeers, Van Wilder for Julian Alaphilippe. So all of them are sort of tied to a teammate by the looks of things. Into the 14 credits, Bergadeau, for sure, could be a top 20, I think. Ballerini could be up there sprinting, but we haven't seen too much of him recently. Capio, they also have Albanese, who I think would be their safer choice. So perhaps, at the end of the day, Arkea have Capio, Louvel, Seneschal and Albanese. So who knows who they're going to be going with. We've got 4 sprinters in this race. I'd say Albanese is the safest. And considering that he's 2 credits cheaper, he's a little bit more enticing. So I'd say that 14s, honestly, they're all a little bit risky in my eyes. But yeah, Albanese, he's good. I think Jake Stewart, honestly, is good. I gave him, touted him a little bit last time. And I do think he got caught up behind that Trenton crash. And yeah, I think that this parkour suits him with a sprint finish rather than uphill sprint. So I think that Jake Stewart could honestly be a top 10 here. They could also go with Van Asbrook though, or Ackerman. But I'd say that Jake Stewart honestly looks the best out of their team at the moment. The 10s, if they don't go with Ballerini, they could go with Case Ball. Yeah, maybe Haller. But obviously, some of you were absolutely correct. Roger Adlia was the guy to be picking in the Grand Prix de Wallonie. So chapeau to you all. I think that was a really good pick. I should have gone with him and listened to you all. So Adlia, yeah, a guy who could be top 15. If it's a sprint, I don't think he'll make it too high up. But if it's an attacking group, he could certainly be up there. Abrahamson hasn't looked fantastic recently, but is certainly a guy who would attack off the front with a Schoins, with a Vellens. Once like an initial selection had been made. So he's a really good choice if you think that an attacking group will make it. Aniakowski sprinted very well and was climbing quite well in the European Champ. So I think that he could sneak into a top 10 for sure. Baroncini I like as well. Probably not one who a lot of people will be selecting, so certainly a good differential. But, he finished the Vuelta. He did that really strong TT. He's been climbing pretty decently, sprinting well, and I think that Baroncini could be a bit of a differential if you're really looking for a little bit of a rogue one. Lund Andreasen, in theory, is going to be a good sprinter for the end, should be a top 10 if it does come down to a sprint. And yeah, other than that, I don't think the 8s have that much to look at. Canal, if it isn't Arambarou, it'll be Canal because he's had some strong results recently. And Foldaga, I expect Caleb Ewan to get dropped, so Foldaga was, 3rd in Coppa Sabatini over some rolling terrain. This obviously suits him quite well. So I think with Foldaga for a top 15 or a top 20, depends on the scenario of the race really. Jeannière, one of the best 6 credit riders this year in the Super Classico, and Jeannière, absolutely good choice for a lot of teams if you think it's going to be a sprint. He's the fastest guy that Total Energies have, so I think that he absolutely is a good pick. You got Ploymers, gave a shout out to him last time and he came 5th or something in the Grand Prix de Wallonie. Obviously that was because Trenton did crash, so he got his own opportunity there. But Ploymers for sure, finishing 5th last time, that's a big sign that he's in good form, climbing well, sprinting well. So I think that Ploymers could definitely be top 15 in this race as well. And to be honest with you, I think that those are your best ones. I wouldn't really be going for anybody else. Go with Jeannière, Foldaga, or Ploymers. And then the 4s honestly just aren't that great. Yeah, you're looking at maybe assist points, but I don't see... Like Eduard Prades was in the top 15 of Grand Prix de Wallonie, so maybe that's one who you might go with. But yeah, other than that, Matteo Vacher actually was was doing okay in some of the Italian races recently, so you might go with him as well. This is my team at the moment. It's very sprinter heavy, as you can see, hoping that it's going to all come back together. But let me know what you guys are thinking in the comment section down below. I'd be really interested to hear how you all think the race is going to go. And of course, put your teams in the comment sections down below, and I will try to get back to you today, because I'm moving down to Bath tomorrow to start my PhD, so I'm packing up all of this computer stuff. Yeah, so I won't be able to get back to you tomorrow morning, so be sure to put your comment sections in today, hopefully before this evening, before I pack all this away. So yeah, thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next video. Salut.